Before we can look at the various kinds of immersion and their interactions with the metagame, we must first understand the concepts of immersion and the metagame themselves. With respect to games, immersion refers to a state in which a player or spectator is completely focused on a game so much that the rest of the world does not register on a sensory level. Jin Nakamura and Mihai Csikszentmihalyi further elaborate on this concept with what is known as flow theory. Flow is described as a state where the player of a given game is being challenged at a level that is at the higher end of their skill set, but is still able to meet these challenges by being completely focused on them. Put simply, being in the zone when the going gets tough. Game designer and founder of Shuffle Brain Studios, Amy Jo Kim, describes the metagame as simply layering a reward system onto an existing activity. In regards to games, it is the game surrounding the game that determines how the original game will play out. Games such as rock, paper, scissors can be a metagame when they are used to decide who will have the first move in a game. The metagame of rock, paper, scissors itself involves being able to predict an opponent's move before they play it and respond with the appropriate counter. For competitive titles such as Call of Duty Black Ops and Street Fighter, the metagame revolves around the character and class systems that allow players to choose their play strategy and shift the perceived odds of victory in their favour. If we liken the metagame to that of a selection game, we can see a cyclic nature in how it plays out. Players will continually adapt their metagame strategies to take advantage of current weaknesses in the metagame until another option arises that changes this balance and continues the cycle. Class and character systems allow players to experiment with the different rules of the game and adapt or change their play strategy over time based on their success or failure in game. A well-balanced system of this kind allows a player to continually change their approach and thereby achieve tactical immersion. Strategic immersion refers to the type of immersion achieved not through well-timed sets of physical movements such as in sports or esports, but to the immersion achieved primarily through mental challenge, such as anticipating the moves and strategies of any player at a game level to remain ahead. Competitive real-time strategy games such as the Age of Empires and StarCraft series combine strong metagames with a high level of strategic and tactical immersion, enough so to become spectator sports worthy of analysis in an academic capacity. The metagame around StarCraft is extended to include the extrinsic reward of money through gambling as a spectator, further intensifying competition between the highest level players to succeed at both a game and metagame level. Non-competitive games can also have an element of strategic immersion. The SimCity series is famed for its open-ended gameplay and lack of a simple win condition, but this has not stopped players creating the perfect city based off any one of multiple measures in the game. One such city, dubbed Magnasanti by its creator Vincent Okazla, required 4 years of theoretical planning and rigorous analysis of SimCity 3000's mechanics to achieve maximum population density on a single map. After 2 conceptual prototypes exploring its theoretical workings, the final city was built, housing 6 million residents in a 16 square kilometre area and pushing the measure of population density to the absolute extreme. Role-playing games, or RPGs, are a genre of game that has evolved from simple pen and paper adventures to huge virtual worlds with diverse non-player characters and rich visual appeal. Its success as a game genre stems from the level of narrative immersion possible if one can suspend disbelief and take the role of a character in the fictional game world. RPGs such as Dungeons & Dragons require a player to invent their character from scratch, fleshing out a comprehensive backstory and choosing personality traits and character abilities. Dungeons & Dragons players refer to 2 major play styles, either immersive or metagamey. Immersive players make their characters' in-game decisions based on the personality and knowledge of that character in the game world, whereas a metagamey player makes the same decisions based on their knowledge as a player. Playing in a metagamey fashion is frowned upon in the tabletop RPG community, as it breaks the narrative immersion that these games set out to create. It could be argued that the metagame shouldn't be played if one wants to achieve narrative immersion in any given game, but if one wants to achieve tactical immersion, then the metagame is a game that must be played in order to achieve a state of flow. As communities form around a sport or game, so too do the members of that community become part of the metagame for that sport or game. Spectators have the ability to dissect player tactics and strategies without playing the game themselves, and in doing so, They are disseminating information about the current metagame while simultaneously becoming a part of it. Spectating the sport event can also be an immersive experience. Crowds who watch major two-team sports often dress in their team's colours and sing various songs in support of their favourite team. This support, or lack thereof, can directly affect the outcome of a game by making or breaking the team's confidence and affecting their in-game performance. Immersion takes us into the game world, but the metagame that drives the finer nuances of how we play our games to win is firmly rooted in the real world. The metagame has proven to be an immersive experience in itself, forming communities where spectators and commentators grow to outnumber those who play the actual game. Immersion takes different forms in games, anything from first-person shooters that demand impressive hand-eye coordination to open-ended creative sandboxes with no apparent end goal can be classified as immersive experiences. Data scientist, designer and programmer Alexander Jaffe describes in his thesis that communities around a game often fragment into different sections based on player skill and play frequency. As the number of dedicated players of a game grows, their communities begin to regiment, developing codes of conduct and etiquette that continually change to better reflect the metagame. The types of immersive experiences are continually expanding, and the metagames for each of these growing more complex each and every year. As the relationship between metagame and immersion continually convolutes and evolves, developers will continue to experiment with ways to create new compelling metagames for a new generation of game experience.